Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor.
Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsey, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian. What a weekend on the Derby Trail on Saturday. Let's get to it, Brian.
The Derby Trail heated up, Matt. I think for the first time, the 2017 Kentucky Derby movers and shakers were really doing their thing this last weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm including Sunday because of the filly. We're going to talk about her in a moment, but let's get to the biggest race of all from the past weekend, named after a super horse from a few decades ago, Holy Bull. It was at Gulfstream Park. It featured the return of the 2016 Breeders' Cup Juvenile champion, Classic Empire, but he was beaten as the favorite, Matt, and he was beaten decisively.
He sure was. Well, when the horses were loading into the gate and I got a look at Classic Empire, I was like, this is going to be tough, because he was really, really washed out, didn't want to go into the gate. And, Brian, considering all that, and he finished third, that wasn't such a bad performance. But we know, Brian, Classic Empire is a bit of a temperamental horse. This was his first start of the year. I'm going to draw a line through it, Brian. After the race, Mark Casse said Classic Empire didn't really like having to ship in on the day of the race because, of course, he's stabled at Palm Meadows and they got to take the van over, and that didn't sit well with his kind of nature. So I don't think we should discount Classic Empire at this point. But wow, Brian, our New Jersey bred Irish War Cry, what a wonderful performance.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you on Classic Empire. No more race day shipping for him. It seems like that got him. You have to wonder a little bit if Classic Empire's temperament is going to serve him well in front of 170,000 people on the first Saturday of May here in Louisville. But on the other hand, he's in the hands of some really, really good horsemen, Mark Casse, Norm Casse, David Carroll there. So I think that they will turn him around. I expect a much better improvement. You're right, it wasn't all that bad, but you could tell he was empty on the turn. And there was obviously good reason for it, for how he looked before the race, just not quite himself. Maybe a classy performance just to be third. Was a well-beaten third, and of course we had the impressive winner, as you mentioned, a Jersey bred like both of we are, Matt. So it's nice to root for the Jersey bred a little bit, but this horse is bred, Matt. Irish War Cry is a son of Curlin, one of the best young sires in the nation for sure, and he's got that wonderful Phipps blood coursing through his veins all over his female side of his pedigree. So Irish War Cry, make no doubt about it. This was his first race at 2 turns. He's bred to be good, and he's bred to go 2 turns. I hate to say this. I feel like it's hyperbole in a way, but he did remind me of his sire. I still remember how his sire looked coming down the stretch in his lifetime debut, with exactly 10 years before the Holy Bull, interestingly enough. How Curlin looked. He was a little green, but he was just an awesome performer that day in his debut. Irish War Cry really did remind me of his sire a little bit. I have nothing but good things to say about Irish War Cry's performance coming out of a tough sprint stakes win at Laurel. He saw a new competition, better competition. He saw a new 2 turns, and he only improved under the master conditioning of Graham Motion. I expect that to continue, and Irish War Cry very much looks like the real deal. Matt, nothing wrong with Gunnevera's performance as well.
Yeah, Gunnevera put in a nice run with a short stretch at Gulfstream. Not the ideal racetrack for him, so he's going to stay high on our Derby list also. One more thing about Irish War Cry. Yes, he was a little green, but you know what? That whole race, he looked like he was moving so comfortably, and he looked like he was having a great time. He was green in that way, but not green in that like he was having trouble controlling himself. I loved everything I saw from that horse.
Yeah, and the greenness, and I guess I'm going off of just a little bit of zigzagging in the stretch, which again reminded me of Curlin of 10 years ago at Gulfstream Park. That's something that's only going to get better with experience. He's going to improve off this, and everything else. I'm with you. Gunnevera, I didn't think that this was the best spot for him going in. Not a ton of pace, Gulfstream Park. So it was a fine performance, but make no mistake, a little bit of trouble there for Gunnevera during the race. He really was never going to beat the winner. This was about Irish War Cry. All three horses should move forward, and I think we're going to be talking about these three from the Holy Bull for the next several months, as I think we're going to be talking about the filly. The Las Virgenes, the Grade 2 Las Virgenes, was Sunday at Santa Anita, and it featured the return of the 2-year-old filly champion, Breeders' Cup winner, Champagne Room. She was no match at the windows. We're talking 1-10 versus 9-2 for a first race back of a recent Eclipse Award winner, Matt. That shows us how much respect everybody has for Unique Bella, the daughter of Tappet and Unrivaled Belle. How good she looked in the Santa Ynez. She looked even better in the Las Virgenes.
Just absolutely amazing filly. And like you said, Brian, yeah, Unique Bella looked terrific. And like you said, with the breeding, Tappet, Unrivaled Belle, wow, she was just amazing coming down the stretch. Uncontested, she won as easy as she pleased, and she's running fast on top of it, Brian.
Yeah, Matt, it's hard to imagine the same stable having a filly that looks this good after, of course, everything we've seen from Songbird. Songbird, of course, had a much more comprehensive 2-year-old season than Unique Bella did. But Unique Bella, I don't know. I mean, she impresses me at least as much as Songbird did at this time last year, even though Songbird had raced several more times. Unique Bella is a unique talent. I think she's an extraordinary talent. She's taken her breeding. She's run with it. No telling how good she can be, Matt. The way she's just taking over the race. Mike Smith's not asking her on the backstretch of these stakes races, these graded stakes races in Southern California, and she's just taking over. And Mike Smith says, okay, I'll let you go. And it's so easy. It's push button. It's cruising. It's effortless. It's dominating. It's fast. Obviously things will get tougher no matter which road she goes, Matt. But I don't think any of us are wrong in thinking that Unique Bella is a really, really seriously talented 3-year-old filly. I want to make one point before we throw it back to you, Matt. Unique Bella is Jerry Hollendorfer. Jerry Hollendorfer was the trainer of Songbird. Even if Songbird was healthy, she was not going to go down the Triple Crown trail last year. She was owned by Rick Porter. She is owned by Rick Porter, Fox Hill Farm. Rick Porter, of course, had a very unfortunate, terrible tragedy in the Kentucky Derby running a filly. 8 Bells ran a great second to Big Brown, and she broke down and had to be euthanized after that Kentucky Derby. There was serious scar tissue. I think that played a big part in them wanting no part of the Triple Crown Trail for Songbird. Jerry Hollendorfer, very conservative trainer. On the other hand, we're talking Don Alberto Racing owns this one. There are some very big sportsmen from Chile. I have a feeling that if she continues to look as good as she is looking, that they're going to be thinking Kentucky Derby, and it'll be their decision over Hollendorfer. Any opinions on that, Matt?
Well, Brian, and there are just a couple of things that we should talk about with that. Even though Hollendorfer was saying that she's going to stay with the fillies, he's never been one to duck a challenge. Hollendorfer, he'll go anywhere and run against anybody. But fans, we also need to remind that if they're thinking about the Derby with Unique Bella, she's going to have to get Derby points. So she's going to have to run against the boys before the Derby to qualify.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to one race for her, Matt, because whatever race she decides to use as a prep for the Kentucky Derby, so you're right, they are going to have to decide before late April, but I don't think she'll have any trouble collecting points in that one appearance against males. She's that good. Obviously, I like this filly, Matt. Now, Champagne Room, she finished third. Mopetism is a pretty nice filly from the Doug O'Neill barn, outgamed her for second. Nothing wrong. Much like Classic Empire, really nothing too wrong with her effort, and I expect her to move forward. But the 2-year-old filly champion is just not in the same class as Unique Bella.
No question about that.
Speaking of not the same class, Matt, I think we saw that in the Withers Stakes, Aqueduct. Ella Reeve, the son of Exchange Rate, he's out of an AP Indy mare, out of a trained by a trainer that you're going to talk about a little bit that we're not as familiar with on the national stage. Ella Reeve has won 4 races in a row. He's won them easily. After winning on a wet track in the Jerome, he proved he could do it on a dry track for the Withers.
Yep, Brian, done everything right in the last 4 races and showing the kind of things that you need to see on the Derby Trail. Used to be a front runner, now is a horse that relaxes in a stalking position and makes a move. And again, just drew away as easy as he pleased. And after the race, didn't seem very tired, wasn't particularly sweaty. Exchange Rate, we all had some questions about the distance. It was 1 mile and a 16th, 2 turns at Aqueduct. Those questions are going away a little bit more for me. After the race, trainer Cathal Lynch from Laurel, where Ella Reeve is based, said that they're going to stay in New York. They're probably going to take the Gotham off, give a little bit of extra time there, go to the Wood Memorial, and their eyes are on the Kentucky Derby.
Obviously a very nice horse, Matt. He looks, again, to do the right things in a race. He looks very easy for the rider to control. I guess I'm talking about a professional-looking 3-year-old all racehorse. He has as much speed as he needs. Obviously, 1 mile 16th is no problem. I do worry. You were at Aqueduct on Saturday. I do worry about this level of competition, and I certainly worried about it in the Jerome, and this didn't bring a lot of new faces. I think J. Boy's Echo might be a decent horse progressing down the road, but really the Withers out of these races that we're talking about probably offered the least competition, the least class of competition. So therefore, I'm hoping, assuming happens what the trainer and you are saying in that his next race is the Wood Memorial, I'm hoping he gets a little bit more competition, a little bit more of a test before he comes to Louisville, and that would be in the Wood Memorial.
Yep, I think that would be important, another important step for him. And, as far as I'm concerned, it's great to see a new trainer and a new group of owners with a horse like this. It brings great energy heading down the Derby Trail.
Good point, Matt. I enjoy that too. It's not always the best thing to see the same old faces every time, and some of those trainers we see an awful lot, and that's more power to them. But a nice fresh face is always great to see. Now, the winner of the Robert B. Lewis is trained by not so much a fresh face, but I think a trainer that has a lot of popularity and maybe hasn't had a really, really top Derby threat since he upset the Derby at 50-1 with Giacomo. And of course, I'm talking about the trainer of Zenyatta, that's John Sheriffs, and his horse is Royal Mo. Royal Mo is the son of Uncle Mo out of a St. Bellato mare, and St. Bellato is breeding that I happen to love.
Yeah, and talking about John Sheriffs, who would ever thought it? He doesn't only have Royal Mo, he's got Gormley too. So Sheriffs and the Mosses, owners of Zenyatta, of course, have 2 horses, and Sheriffs is going to have to juggle them down the Derby Trail so that they aren't running in the same race.
Yeah, it's interesting. Gormley is a horse who has not cracked my top 5, but I have him in the top 10. I think he's a nice enough horse. I'm not sure he beats American Anthem next time. Maybe he does. Gormley's a very good horse. Royal Mo, on the other hand, might be improving, might be a horse who can get a lot better in a short amount of time. I'm really interested, enthralled, in fact, with his physicality, his looks. The way he looks, other than a certain part of his anatomy, Matt, does remind me a little bit of Zenyatta. This is a big, strong, powerful looking horse. And those type of horses, when they show ability early on, sometimes only get better Maybe Rock Hard 10 is another horse I might think back to when I look at Royal Mo. He, like Ella Reeb, did not have to face much on Saturday in the Robert B. Lewis, but he might have faced better horses than Ella Reeb did. I like Royal Mo.
Yeah, and like you said, Brian, everybody was talking about how big a horse that is, but Brian, he really moved smoothly around the track and showed good speed out there. So relatively inexperienced. I liked all of that when you put that together with a horse that's big, and usually that means they're going to get better as they grow into their bodies and figure things out. Yeah,
we should mention that Ella Reeb kind of stalked and maybe had the race set up well for him, although he probably could have won from anywhere in the withers. Both Irish Warcry and Royal Mo did enjoy a nice setup in that the pace was not fast. They were able to take control of the race going into the first turn and just pretty much dominate from there. So Royal Mo and maybe Irish Warcry both still have a little to prove in that the race might not always set up quite as well for them.
Yep, no question, Brian. But again, both of them were out in the lead, but they looked like they were doing it so easily.
Yeah, and both horses give me the impression, Matt, of horses that might not need the lead. And I think we already know that about Irish Warcry. And I think even Royal Mo, he's done some rallying in his short career as well. So both horses should be okay, even if they don't have the lead. Another horse who might be very much more than okay, Matt, won an allowance on Friday. His name, of course, is Battalion Runner. Battalion Runner is a Todd Pletcher, owned in part by our friend Vinny Viola. He had a little bit tougher race maybe in this Friday allowance at Gulfstream than I thought he was going to have.
Yeah, it was the Battalion Runner had to work hard coming down the stretch and battle, and that was a good thing. Showed good courage and determination to get the win. Battalion Runner, is going to have to now probably move on from Gulfstream Park and show that he can do it on a different racetrack. He was a bit tired and he worked really hard in that race, so it made me maybe a little concerned about lengthening out to that Derby distance of 10 furlongs.
Here's what I did like, Matt. Beasley was a nice enough looking horse, a very strong allowance horse on paper going in, and I think Beasley ran a career best race so far in his short career as well for Mark Hennig. Beasley looks like a nice horse. They really left the others in a pretty good looking allowance field far in the rear view mirror. So maybe I have the same concerns about Battalion Runner after watching the race as you do, but maybe it was just that Beasley ran huge, making Battalion Runner needing to work a little bit harder. I think both horses certainly have stakes future, especially Battalion Runner, making only his second start recently, only his third start of his career. But if I'm going to compare the two Gulfstream races from Friday and Saturday, Irish Warcry for sure stands above of Battalion Runner, both of them third lifetime starts in my eyes.
Yep, and like you were mentioning with Pletcher, Battalion Runner is one of many horses that seem to be his trend now. They're starting late and have a lot of experience to catch up on the Derby trail.
Yeah, I agree with that, which doesn't always bode well on the first Saturday in May. It might get them a nice Derby prep win, but when they get to Churchill, they don't quite have the foundation as some. So I would agree with that statement. Battalion Runner does not move real high up my list off the win, but definitely still one to watch. Matt, we have one big prep this week. I love Tampa Bay Downs, and I love the fact that their prep for the Tampa Bay Derby, which is Saturday, Sam F. Davis is getting a really nice field. We said certainly the Holy Bull was the best prep going into last Saturday, but I think the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Bay Downs is comparable, and in horses, I'm looking at their probables right now on Tuesday morning. McCracken is high on everybody's list, the undefeated Ghost Sapper colt. No Dozing, Fact Finding, Wild Shot. These are horses that are very interesting to me moving forward. So McCracken has to run big to win. Not that he needs to win this early in the year, but the Sam F. Davis, my point is, this is a really good race at Tampa.
It sure is. And McCracken making his first start back as a 3-year-old, his first start out of Kentucky, different kind of racing surface. So he's going to have to be ready. And Ian Wilkes doesn't always have them cranked up to 100% first time out. But McCracken's a special horse. And folk, we haven't talked about him much except for top tens. He's a special horse. You got No Dozing in there and Wild Shot in there, who already have some Derby points from races as 2-year-olds. Fact Finding in there is from the Todd Pletcher barn again, also 3 for 3, just like McCracken. Not quite at that level, but he's got a stakes win in there. It's a really, really nice field.
Really nice field, Matt. I'm not ready to call McCracken special yet. I do think that Ian Wilkes is an excellent trainer and one of the good guys in the business, so I'm rooting for McCracken. This will be a step for him in the right direction, hopefully, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's upset by one of those other really good horses we're talking about. No Dozing from the barn of Arnold Delacour, a young trainer that I think the world of. He's a son of Union Rags, a young sire that I think the world of. I'm with you on Fact Finding. I think that he's not the best in the Pletcher barn, but he's undefeated. And Wild Shot is kind of one of my Derby dark horses. So McCracken better be good if he wants to win this. But either way, it's going to be an interesting race in the Sam F. Davis and probably an interesting trail at Tampa Bay Downs on the way to Kentucky.
Yeah, and we know that Pletcher has had some good luck in those Tampa Bay preps, and Fact Finding's going to probably be out on the lead and is going to make that race interesting.
Yes, sir. All right, folks, Kentucky Derby. Can you tell we're starting to get a little bit excited for the Kentucky Derby? We're getting to that time. It's less than 3 months now till the Kentucky Derby, but all these preps are starting to unfold. It's a whole lot of fun. Irish War Cry, Guinevere, Unique Bella, Ella, Reeb, Royal Mo, McCracken. We're talking about a lot of nice 3-year-olds at this time of year. It's nothing but fun. I hope you enjoyed this Kentucky Derby prep edition of HorseCenter. Matt and I will be back soon with another edition. Thank you, as always, for watching, and thank you to the best contest site out there, Derby Wars, for their sponsorship of HorseCenter. Any parting shots from you, sir?
I just want to wish Tepin to continue to get well after her very, very mild bout of colic. All reports are good, so Tepin, keep getting well so we can see you running in a month or so.
I think you said very mild, Matt. That's good, because from what I've heard, it was extremely mild and nothing too much to worry about, something that she's had before. Don't forget our producer, Matt. He's back from Vegas, Brett Workman, the best producer in the business.
Thank you, Brett.
We'll see you next week, folks.